Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and frankly, all the markets now. We're talking about all the markets because they're increasingly getting intertwined, loaded up for discussion today. We've got Bitcoin surging back to $92,000, up 6% on the day. Difficult market, this one to read at the moment. We'll discuss that. We'll talk hyperliquid strategies and Sonnet Biotherapeutics announcing their business combination. So the Hype Treasury strategy is getting prepared to allocate. And finally, this might have been a day old or so, but Fed chair vote on Polymarket spiked to 85% for crypto-friendly Kevin Hassett. We'll discuss some of the implications of that, as well as have a general discussion on the latest on price and market sentiment as usual. So stay tuned for that. I've got Legendary and Bread in the co-host seats with me today. We are ready to get into it, but just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing ever that we say on this show is financial advice. This market is very risky, very hard to read. We do not know anything for sure. So please, as always, proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Wednesday. It's the 3rd of December. How are you doing?
Jim, I'm doing quite well. I'm a bit under the weather. So immediately this morning, I went to my longevity lab to get an IV drip to do all the things to cure and recover as fast as I can so that I am back in full health for when I fly to Dubai at the end of the week. But apart from that, definitely the market looking as green as it is looking right now is also helpful. And then the third thing, I wanted to say that for a while, I find that extremely, extremely satisfying. So obviously we now have the new process with the show. The show has been revamped. We have completely new way of how it's being produced. And as a result of that, things work like to the second. And it's beautiful because I do the timestamps after the show. And for the last 2 weeks consecutively, like the music played exactly for the same amount of time. The countdown makes sure that my first timestamp basically is 4 minutes, 56 seconds intro music. And I didn't have to change and touch it once in 2 weeks because it's been exactly the same amount of minutes and seconds that the music has been playing. And we started exactly at 7 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m., 4 minutes and 56 seconds on the dot. And I love that.
Love it. Need the whip cracked on us every now and again. Now that we've got some extra people part of the team, shout out Max in the production seat, cracking the whip, making sure we start on time. I don't mind that at all. I like it. I like that consistency. Bread, how are things going your side, my man? How are you finding the consistency, like in the new vibe on the show? You've been on the move a lot as well. How are things? Checking in with you before we get into the market stuff.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard for me to lock in on the nuances of the difference. I obviously appreciate Maxi saved me just with this just today because I don't have my normal mic. You know, I'm here in a prayer position so that we can do this stuff alongside my.
You need someone else to take a photo, by the way, to show Like you
It's
doing the
horrible,
show
man.
almost in exaltation
The-
of the modern market audience.
You know what I sympathize with? Because I always saw the pictures of the girls who walk around in heels, and like the girls are like, "You just don't know the pain we go through to make everyone else happy." Like I feel like I'm in a little bit of that right now, and like I am just like I'm sitting on like a stack of pillows strategically placed so I can do this. But things are good. We're locked in. I'm here with the rest of the mega team. I met some people from the community, specifically the Bad Buns guys. Other people that are here for, I think it's Binance Blockchain Week, and we have an event tonight that we're going to do with Athena, so that's nice. Yeah, locking in for mainnet. Another thing I was talking to Legendary before the show. We just issued the refunds yesterday for the bridge that Meggy did, so that's all out in everyone's pockets. We're going to announce it here in an hour or so.
Nice.
But that was a close to the chapter that is, and now we can actually like start moving forward again.
Good stuff. That's a nice way to start the show. If anyone's deposited their funds in Maggie, you got the funds back. That is good. And then maybe we can wait for the next steps for information. Good stuff. Good stuff. On my side, I've been off the show a couple of days. Feels terrible.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to give back $500 million. Like, I know we had a little bit of a delay yesterday, but like trying to get $500 million back in the pockets of people and making sure that's the exact right amount in every single pocket is a little nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, like even though it's smart contract stuff, right? It's like, okay, it's just programmatic. It's just you send it back to the address that it comes from, but you're still thinking twice, hopefully, to make sure it all gets done right. Good stuff. Well, that's good. Ledge, anything on your side? Been running the show a couple of days with different people while I was off. Any thoughts, reflections, any key thing that I missed before we get into the main stuff today?
Yeah, I did a little something with Rahim yesterday to talk a bit NFTs because he is definitely a bigger believer than me in the industry, and I wanted to hear some bullish vibes on that, and also touch on the mystery boxes. Basically, it feels like after Moonbirds did the mystery boxes, which all of us bought, then we had the fog thing on Fidgetals, then Pudgies did mystery boxes as well. Seems like that has started to become a new trend, and I'm starting to grow a bit skeptical of it. Obviously, there is time and place for collections to do that, but and Pudgies and others, Moonbirds as well, do that obviously in good faith and as good actors, and that's all fine. But I could see seeing some people jump on board of this trend and do this in a more illicit way with not the best intentions at mind.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like these teams that have done them so far are some of the better teams, and so maybe it'll be okay. But you're right; like it's definitely a way to get people to FOMO in, right? But I guess that means we probably have hundreds of Moonbirds mystery boxes to claim, given the number that we all did together. So let's see where we take custody of those. Right, let's get into it, guys. We've got a lot to talk about today. Market is really moving again, getting some velocity here, but let's get into the main stuff as usual. First, to start with the price action, starting with Bitcoin, as always, up 6% on the day, pushing towards 93K, sitting at around 92.8 at the moment. ETH's up 8% on the day, back over $3,000 at 3,070. XRP's up 6 as well. BNB's up 6 to almost $900. Sol's up 10% to 141. And we have Hyperliquid up almost 6% back to $33. We also had memes moving pretty strongly. Dogecoin up almost 10% to almost 15 cents. Pepe's up 16%. Trump's up 5. Bonk's up 11. Pengu was up 20% earlier, up 18 now. So real strong bounce across the board for the meme coins. We had Rect up 25% on the day. Turbo up 50%. So huge move, really, on the 24 hours on some of the more speculative tokens. Getting into the main headlines today, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, talking about the main assets as usual, up 6% on the day. Got to consider there if this is the turnaround that people have been waiting for. We'll talk Hyperliquid strategies and Sonnet Biotherapeutics announcing the business combination. This Hype treasury strategy run by the former CEO of Barclays, Bob Diamond. We'll talk about what is going to take place there. And finally, the Fed chair vote on Polymarket spikes to 85% for crypto-friendly Kevin Hassett. So we'll talk through some of the maybe more general macro-related factors today, as well as anything else we think is important. Some notable price action: Hype's up 8% to $34. Pengu up, as I said, almost up 20. Rect up 25. On the NFT side, Punk's floor is back to 93K. I think it went down as low as 70 something at one point last week when the price of ETH really tanked. Some other news that I think is important: Bank of America suggests clients allocate 4% to Bitcoin. That's pretty big news. We've got 21 shares announcing 2 new ETPs, Morpho and Athena. Jupiter to launch the WET token on Jupiter DTF today. UK passes law officially recognizing crypto as a third type of property. Myriad Markets announces partnership with with Trust Wallet to incorporate prediction market into the wallet. I think that's a pretty cool partnership. Kinetiq announces markets, explaining how to get kmHYPE via Kinetiq on December the 8th. So this is if you're a Kinetiq holder, I think you're going to get a separate token where you revenue share the fees of the market that Kinetiq is launching. I think that is accurate. We might need to double click on that. Some more news on the NFT side. Definitely some life in general across the board here. We had Frog's NFT collection. Wallet Checker is now live on OpenSea. Very popular artist. I hope that does well. Pudgy Penguins announces NHL partnership, collab for NHL Winter Classic from December to January. Rect Drinks announces leading drinks distributor partnership with Superior Beverage Group. Moonbirds announced redemptions live for mystery blind boxes, as we just spoke about at the top of the show. Flow CEO Roham announces they're refreshing Flow tokenomics to become deflationary. That was in a long post where the CEO was kind of suggesting that they've messed up a couple of things and they're going to try and fix it now. And then finally, Binance announces co-founder He Yi has been appointed co-CEO, with deep apologies if that was mispronounced in any way. With that done, Legendary, before we get to the main stuff, curious what is catching your attention from any of this? That is the roundup, but what's catching your attention before we get into the main headline today?
Yeah, so many interesting things. I think the first one that I want to touch on is the Flow news, because that post, and I saw that Tyler had reposted it, so this is why I'm going there. As you said, starts with saying, by Roham, starts with saying, we fucked up. And one of the things that they're looking into is a new angle to DeFi. They're saying DeFi today is hostile, demands technical mastery just to survive, slippage, MEV, liquidation cascades, list goes on. And this is where they want to step in with Flow Credit Markets, a lending protocol that they claim protects you instead of punishing you. This is the interesting thing. There's this paragraph where they're saying, so far, backtesting against every major crash since 2020 see 100% survival rate and 99.9% cost reduction versus lending protocols on other networks. This is the part where I want the details on. This is where I want to get some technical understanding of how it is working. Obviously, the premise of that with peak money sounds interesting, but I'm very curious to see how they backtested that, what models they used, and how it works in a different way to other lending protocols, because per se it sounds interesting, but obviously hard to judge without having any more substantiated explainer on how it actually works.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, focusing on DeFi doesn't seem to be something they've done before. They've very much lent into very high, what's the word? Not high scale partnerships, so big ticket partnerships, I'd probably say. They managed to onboard a bunch of people onto Flow, whether it was NBA Top Shot back in the day, 2021, along with a bunch of other very big names. I think they did a bunch with Disney at one point as well, along with some other sports leagues. So I think they managed to get a lot of big partnerships. Sounds like a bit more of a crypto native twist moving forward. So that is interesting. Keep an eye on that. Brett, what's catching your attention before we get into the main stuff today?
I was going to say something about the Flow stuff, mostly because the lore of the team and the blockchain is always such a notable thing for me, right? It's the original team that did the Crypto Kitties, and then what was it? Top Shot? What was the card game?
Yep, NBA Top Shot.
be a top shot. They did that. And then like obviously Flow blockchains, like I was just surprised that it didn't actually take off given the team's experience and previous successes. I actually almost went over and built on them whenever I was still a builder, just like looking at like their potential and knowing that they were awesome or that they had a history of success. Ultimately didn't. Different timeline. The other things I want to talk about is one, Pudgy, and like a surprise that like we just like casually just throw in there that they're partnered with the NHL and like not even a notable thing. We just kind of keep going. I know that they've just racked up a ton of those, and it's somewhat commonplace to just see them cited next to that. It has no impact whatsoever on anything. And I think that is, I don't know, just like a pause, notable moment for our industry that this is kind of what we were always hoping for. And it's cool to see that they are doing that. And then what? I could not shake myself whenever you're walking through those meme coins and the price action, all of them, and seeing like Turbo up 50%. And I'm like, who is buying that coin? Like that is for people who don't remember it, as the first person who like vibe coded a token meme launch back in around the Pepe days. It was like a Pepe beta / AI because it was a vibe coded chat GPT launched by someone who was a non-dev who was like just did it. And like, who is buying that? Why is anyone buying? Like, I can understand Pudgy, I can understand Doge, I can understand, but like this one is so far down the risk curve. I don't even understand how it's a top, what is it, top 200 coin? It's crazy to me.
Oh, I think the answer there might lie in the fact that if you look at stuff like Fartcoin.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, Fartcoin is up. Okay, it's corrected down, but it had a major spike to 37 cents. You did even see Cerebro did move as well. Cerebro is up another 20% on the day, is up 50% on the week as well. So we did see a lot of movement on the AI side of things. And then obviously you have this, okay, if Fartcoin and Cerebro are moving again, what are some of the other AI plays that we can revive? And Turbo is probably on top of that list as well.
It's just so far down that list to me. That's crazy.
It's a great point. As you, it's like a niche AI coin that got traction for that specific reason back in the day. One thing I would say, there was an interesting post that I bookmarked earlier today. Let me find it because I think it's a good one. It's about the whipsaw action and the crazy volatility on Fartcoin specifically. And look, I don't think it's we already know these meme coins are volatile, right? It's not like an intelligent point to make. Ledger just shared it in the chat. This post from Busy, who's really good on meme coins, said Fartcoin has no mercy for leverage traders. And I wonder whether the moves are so pronounced because there's so much leverage, or in the most favorite ones, there's so much leverage. And that's why the moves are even more pronounced, because it's causing cascading liquidations in either direction. It says Fartcoin has no mercy for leverage traders. In $1.1 million in longs liquidated in 1 hour, $2.5 million in longs liquidated in 24 hours, and $2.4 million in shorts liquidated in 24 hours. So it's like on both sides of the game, like people are getting smashed because they can't stop using leverage on Fartcoin. So it's like, I think that explains it, at least for Fartcoin. There's so much leverage on it all the time when it goes in either direction, because people really want to short it because it's ultimately so stupid whenever it goes high. And then in the other direction, if it starts to look low, it's the first one people want to load up on leverage. So I think it's a little bit to do with that, Brad. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, sure. Like yes, all of that, and people can't help themselves at all. It's all gambling, and then you get into the conversation of what's the difference between Turbo and Bitcoin, right? It's like, oh, it's all a meme coin. Everyone can just do whatever you want, and it's all just a liquidity flows game. So I sympathize with that. It's just still fascinating to me to know that there's that person, that like Japanese soldier on the island, still buying the things. And as we talk about this and some of the liquidation stuff and trading in general, I wanted to comment on macro.
I have lost you, Brett, for a second. Ledger, are you still there?
Yes. I'm still here. Brett's probably going to be back in a couple of seconds. We had that. In the meantime, I think because Brett said it's the Japanese soldier trading Turbo, I don't think it is, because if you look at Turbo's 24-hour volume, that's 18 million. And if you look at Camino on Solana, which is still one of the premier protocols, I would argue, that gets 14 million in trading volume. So it still sees, all of these meme coins still see very, very significant 24-hour trading volume, especially if you think how many of them there are. It is more than just a few people who have not left the trenches, because for that, the volume is too high, in my opinion. And it's a difference with, I wouldn't put Direct, because we had mentioned Direct's price action as well. I wouldn't put Direct in that category. They did have some distribution news yesterday, which was significant, but on the meme side specifically, it's significant amount of volume still.
That's true. That is true. Brad, you're back with us for a second. Just want to give you a chance to finish your point before I maybe text in the Kinetiq direction, because I think I just wanted to touch on that.
Yes, thank you for bringing back in. I think everything just died on me. I'll just say, like, to put a button on it, talking about this overall downtrend, I was not aware of how bad it actually was. Then we're saying we're pumping to like 90K. And I'm like, oh shit, like it actually is, numbers must have been red for a little bit there. And I heard today on a podcast of people, it's like, in these downtrending markets, actually it's you don't actually find a bottom whenever you find buyers. You find it whenever the sellers are out of tokens, or like the selling stops. And people are hoping that this is that event where you actually have a little bit of a zone that's been reclaimed in some bullish candles. So, like, hopefully we're now at a point where the sellers are out of tokens.
Do you know what I would say though, Brad? Look, I like that idea. I'm certainly not opposed to that idea. One thing I would say is, as I started to consume more crypto podcast content over the last 6 months, what I started to conclude is that I think a lot of people listen to each other and then just say the same things as each other, and then you kind of get this aggregate.
I'm literally doing that.
Yeah, like we kind of get this aggregate. No, but I think it's fine when you quote someone. It's like, okay, well, this is an interesting idea. Like, I agree with it, or I disagree with it for this reason. But I think a lot of people then, because then I notice people saying like the exact same thing, and I don't know. Like, in the last 6 months, people have been wrong so much, and never have I been more. And I don't mean critical in a bad way. I'm not critical of these people putting their thoughts out, so they're very articulate and interesting, and I'm using it as an opinion point. But they've been wrong so much over the last 6 months in various ways. They might have been right sometimes, they're wrong sometimes as well. But I just feel like more than ever, as I'm listening, I'm conscious, because now I'm like, okay, but yeah, you were wrong about that one 2 weeks ago. You were wrong about it 3 weeks ago. Whereas obviously in a bull market, when everything was going up, you get the sense that all these people around you are savants, because they're right all the time. They just keep saying the market's going to go up, or they're saying, we like the look of this, and it goes up, and you just think, oh, these guys are super smart, which they are. It's harder when we're in the market like we're in now, and people are wrong far more routinely. So that's just like one reflection out loud, because I think a lot of people will be looking for guidance as well. And that's just one thing I've been thinking about. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have cited that periodically over the last 6 months. I think we always just talk about using data points from a bunch of other people, and then trying to make sure that we gather enough of these to come up with our own conclusion, and not inherit other people's opinions, but to use them as data points to formulate our own opinion. I think it just kind of highlights that, right? You want to aggregate that stuff, and whether they're right or wrong, like the data point is that they are always wrong now, and then you use that to inform your own position, right? So it's just like trying to continue to make sure that you think on your own.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, one more thing before we get into the main stuff today. I think it's worth touching on this Kinetiq markets thing from two directions. One, obviously the Kinetiq airdrop came out not long ago, and I think it's fair to say, from a pure price perspective, it disappointed in where it went. I think it went as high as 20 cents, which was around, what was it? 200 mil FDV, before dipping down to 150 or so, at around a $50 million market cap, and has since dipped down. It went as low as 10 cents over the weekend. It then exploded up 50% once this news came out about markets, which I think everyone knew that they were doing anyway. It just needed that catalyst to kind of reprice again. So just to explain briefly what it is, Legendary's got the tweet up actually, so I'll go to that one first and just do a quick explainer. So for the first time ever, users can co-own all capital markets on-chain with markets. And that's the kmHYPE token, which is built on the same battle-tested architecture that has secured billions in TVL with kHYPE, Kinetiq's general purpose LST. So on December the 8th, in 5 days' time, Kinetiq holders can stake kHYPE 1-to-1 for kmHYPE simultaneously across 3 concurrent cohorts. So depending on how much Kinetiq you hold, you kind of get into different cohorts with a different amount of kmHYPE available to you. So if you hold Kinetiq, you fall into one of these three cohorts, which are determined by historic and time-weighted holdings. All cohorts run first come, first served. Not every eligible wallet is guaranteed its theoretical maximum. Allocation caps exist to ensure broad distribution. So this is my question, and maybe I don't understand it fully. It sounds like, okay, so I mean, the final important aspect, I don't know where this is written. Maybe it's in the article, which I just brought up separately, but I believe, here we go. So kmHYPE, this token, there'll be 888,000 fixed 888,000 fixed supply. kmHYPE minting is exclusively reserved for Kinetiq holders, and the base HIP3 revenue distribution will be 10%, will be the minimum gross revenue that kmHYPE holders can expect to collectively earn from all market activity in perpetuity proportional to their share. And then 90% of revenue will be allocated to growth, liquidity, and other strategic initiatives. So this is an interesting thing. Legendary, maybe coming to you first. We were big on Hyperliquid. I think we were pretty high up on, I had 2 wallets that were very high up on Kinetiq points. I had said I'd initially sold half. Then I decided to sell all because I just didn't feel like I had time to monitor all the different things going on. How does this news make you feel about, I think you're still holding half of your Kinetiq token. What did you think about this news?
I'm still holding all of my Kinetiq token. So basically what markets then is, it's a HIP3 DEX, right? And this HIP3 DEX will earn fees, and part of that fees will go to people who are staking kmHYPE, the kmHYPE token, 10% of that, which I think it creates an interesting loop, because then the question also is, do I still need to hold my Kinetiq in order to have the kmHYPE? Because I think this almost has to be the case.
This is the question, right? Because just to clarify, maybe just so you can answer this based on your understanding, I was talking to Funky earlier, and I think he thought that it's not a separate token, but my reading of this is a separate token you need to get via your Kinetiq, which is strange to me because they've only just launched Kinetiq and now they need another token to get access.
Yeah, it's a hype version, right? It's Kinetiq Market Hype. And it also says Kinetiq Market Hype can be traded at secondary markets for those who want exposure. But then the question is, once I minted or staked whatever the right verb to use is, my kmHYPE, do I still need to hold my Kinetiq? Or could I in theory, if the thing that I'm bullish on is kmHYPE, and I want to have hype, and it's hype that earns revenue, right? It's hype that earns revenue from Kinetiq's market DEX. So it is a hype token. It should trade above hype if it's hype that earns additional revenue share or fees or whatever from a separate product, but it still is an LST. It still is a liquid staked hype token. So then the question is, in that case, I don't need to hold Kinetiq anymore, because I minted that I have that. They won't be able to take that away. I don't know if they then get the yes, Trafi is clarifying that once again in the YouTube comments, being an absolute legend. Trafi is confirming that I'm right. It is a separate LST token. Trafi is also saying Kinetiq gives you the right to mint, but if you got it, you theoretically don't need Kinetiq anymore. So
the reason why I'm laughing is because I think there's some weird circular diagram here that you could produce. We need a diagram where it's like, first you start with hype. You turn it into kHYPE. kHYPE, doing things with kHYPE gets you Kinetiq. Now holding Kinetiq gets you kmHYPE, which is basically back where you started, a version of hype, which I guess trades at a slight premium because it's
Yes.
hype with fees.
Yes.
Um,
But then I can just dump my Kinetiq, and that's the part that I don't like about it.
Yeah, but then, so basically, it was like it's circumvented. The Kinetiq now is like the middle part of the puzzle, which you now don't. It's not a puzzle, but the middle part of the structure, which you kind of no longer need now. That's maybe my instinct. Be curious for anyone to rebut that in the comments, in the chat. If you have any other thoughts, let us know. But that's like some instinctive. Maybe we need to get Omnia or War Daddy on to clarify with us. What else are you going to say there, Ledge?
Yeah, two things. Why I had X is saying in the YouTube comments, this is too much when you can just hold hype. LSTs are supposed to make things easier. That's a fair point. But also see Funky with his hand up. So curious to hear Funky's perspective on our Kinetiq discussion so far.
Welcome to the stage, Funk. What's your contribution here?
Gem boys. No, I think thing that you're missing is just that the limited amount. So yes, the Kinetiq token is needed to actually get the kmHYPE, right? So that's sort of just the door to get in. Because somebody asked when you and I were chatting on the timeline this morning, B, about it, somebody said, why not just give the revenue to the Kinetiq holders, which would be simple and straightforward, right? But I think by making it only 888,888 tokens, it's a very limited supply. So it's giving the first right of the token to the Kinetiq holders. But then if you hold it, I'm assuming that that's going to trade at a premium to kHYPE, right? Especially if the revenues really start to take off. And then there's a very limited supply of the kmHYPE. And so that's, I think, really and for all we know, this could just be the first of many things that they're going to do. I just feel like the Kinetiq team is very smart in how they're rolling out things, and they're very purposeful. I don't think that they, did this without thinking all this through, rather than just delivering it straight to the Kinetiq holders, the token holders directly. I feel like this flywheel is very intentional and purposeful. So I like it. I'm going to try and get some of the kmHYPE myself, just because I'm curious to see where all these three markets go, especially if Jeff is right about sizing on all finance, right?
I mean, I do like the idea of receiving some free kmHYPE, because I guess you don't have to pay for it, do you? It just depends on how much Kinetiq you hold. So arguably that could be pretty valuable, but it does
you have
seem
to stake your kHYPE for kmHYPE 1-to-1. You have to stake your kHYPE for kmHYPE 1-to-1.
You have to stake your Kinetiq for kmHYPE.
No, you have to stake. Look, on December 8th, blah, 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 Kinetiq holders can stake kHYPE 1-to-1 for kmHYPE. So basically, if you are in this 1-to-1 holder rank, you need to hold 28,888 hype in the form of kHYPE, which you then can stake and transform from kHYPE into kmHYPE.
We need a diagram. Bread. Why do we not have a bread to do the diagram here?
That we have.
Yeah, if my internet worked well enough, I'd do it.
What's your view, just listening in on this, Brett? I know you're like mainly focused on other stuff, but we've kind of tried to explain what's going on here as a bit of an outsider, but obviously being familiar with Kinetiq. What's your thought on this dynamic they've created?
Yeah, all right. So my default assumption is the same as Funky. Like, they're a very intentional team. They're not dumb. So okay, a lot of the stuff is probably done with the best intentions, but just hearing it from the outside and my eyes glazing over, it just strikes me as very DeFi summer. Like, bro, you take the A to stake to get the B, you do the B to get the C gives you a premium on the A, but the A then can make your C triple up if you do the C over 7-day time period. So it's just like, bro, it's like the Ouroboros of DeFi that is DeFi. So it's like, I'm sure there's an optimal construction here, but it goes too many layers deep for me to want to give it any attention at all. It's just it ties me down too much.
Yeah, it sounds very Daniele Sesta Magic Wonderland like token structure, but I 100% agree with you that this team is different from that and has very good intentions. But it's still, at the end of the day, I like Kinetiq, I like everything, but it's just too complex if it takes 4 people going through an article and spending 20 minutes of a 1-hour show to explain what tokens we need to exactly have to stake to get what
Yeah.
other token for the benefit of getting 10% revenue of another product that the team is building.
Yeah.
It's a cool product. I'm not criticizing any of that, but it's just too complex.
Yeah. I think I agree. Just, is it possible for you to bring up the Kinetiq chart, Legendary? Just to see, like, look, in the end, we go to markets to decide, does it all make sense? Does it not? Did people like the news once they managed to digest it or not?
I think token construction aside, like you have to evaluate where the revenue is going to be derived from, because that is ultimately going to dictate how much actually goes back to the token. So like, okay, which token you need to have for the optimal outcome is irrelevant, because you need to first evaluate if the thing itself is going to generate any revenue at all, right? Because like 100% of zero is still zero, right? So if the trade.xyz is something that you think is you're bullish on and exciting, then you go through the mental gymnastics of trying to figure out where the best flows for that are going to be. But if you go back to that and you're like, okay, like what is a HYPE3 DEX going to do in this world where you have trade.xyz, you have hyperliquid proper, all these things, like is it going to, you have meaningful market share to like drive revenues back to this token anyways? And then you go backwards from there, which I don't know that I care.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I agree with you. The price of Kinetiq is up 8% today, but you know, it's had like almost a 50% bounce. You know, as the rest of the market has moved up as well. I think if Bitcoin hadn't done what it did, then Kinetiq would not have done what it did either. But you know, so we're valuing it around 14 cents at the moment. It's a market cap of 37 mil. We'll have to see. I think this is one of the interesting ones. It was like, okay, I am actually intrigued by HYPE3. I am intrigued by the potential. I think we should try to get the founders on and dive in, you know, like discuss, like where are they getting their valuations from? What are the potential numbers that they're coming up with to justify whatever valuations they're thinking of? So I'd be intrigued to continue the conversation, but for the moment, and for the average person, yeah, complexity is high and maybe too high. Brett, final take before we move on.
Yeah, I would say the thing that's most interesting to me here is that this is a market denominated in USDH. And like you have, what is this, 3.5 million 24-hour volume. So like I'm more curious on the native stablecoin and how that continues to scale relative to USDC on the chain.
Yeah, I bet you are having a look at that as you kind of make your plans for USDM, right? But the other interesting, the final interesting point about having it done with USDH is that there's no perps market for Kinetiq. So there's no way for you to use leverage on Kinetiq, as far as I could tell when I checked on Hyperliquid. So another interesting like knock-on effect. Right, that is that. We've delayed a little bit getting into the main stuff today, but we want to get to it now. First headline is that Bitcoin is a lot higher than it was when we were super depressed at the start of the week, over the weekend, all last week as it was crashing down. Legendary, Bitcoin surged higher to 92K, pushing towards 93. What do we need to know here? What's going on? Price, details, thoughts, other assets. What do we need to know?
Yeah, we got some interesting things to look at, starting with this article coming out of CoinDesk with the title BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF Options Secure US Top 10 Ranking with 7.7 million active contracts. IBIT options are the 9th largest in the US, and that puts IBIT options ahead of gold ETFs, ahead of many major tech stocks, and basically is an interesting data point. We did speak about the option contract limits and that amendment that is likely to come. So I thought it's interesting to also take a look at IBIT option contracts versus gold and see them surpassing the gold contracts and also many tech stocks. And speaking about gold, yesterday we did comment that gold did see a decline. Now it's back up 0.56%. Above 4.2K at $4,213. So gold has a slight move up today, but obviously not to the extent of the crypto markets. So does silver. Silver is at 58.54, up 0.75% on the day. Obviously has hit a new all-time high and is still moving upwards from that point on. Moving on to the equity side of things, there's two things I want to comment on. Generally speaking, just a quick look at the pre-markets. All of them are in the green, but anywhere between 17 to 23 bips. So nothing too exciting on that side. But I did want to pick out a very specific stock. We talked about it on the show, but you'll remember probably 2 months ago or so, Trump's American Bitcoin Corp. And that one saw an aggressive move down, was down as much as 50% yesterday, still down 38% and up 8% or so in the pre-markets, trading at $2.19. Did trade at $4 just a couple of days ago. And that is to do with previously locked shares, which now have become eligible for trading. And that led to the fact that immediately in the first half hour of the session, the stock did plunge 50%, triggering several trading halts throughout that. And yeah, ended the day, as I said, down 38%. So that was not a very bullish unlock of additional equity, of additional stocks for American Bitcoin Corp.
Just a traditional Bitcoin DAT, legendary?
No, I think they did do some more things. Let me see what we can find. They did mining as well. Yes, not only treasury management, but also mining.
Okay. And okay, well, I think without knowing all of the details with this is what's going to happen with a lot of DATs, right? I think they've been pushed through with lockup schedules that are much faster. If you don't like VCs unlocking after a year or more and selling their tokens in crypto, I think you're going to like the DAT unlocks even less as you find out the lockup schedules maybe even lighter, and the selling will be rapid, I think, depending on what price they got in on. So I expect a lot more price activity in a similar vein for these types of companies. Funky, your hand is raised, always knowledgeable on the Bitcoin arena. Anything additional on American Bitcoin Corp? Anything on this price action that we should know? What are your thoughts? Or maybe just something on the move higher here?
No, just super quick. It's not just anybody's Bitcoin mining company. It's Eric Trump's.
And it's going down. Okay. Good knowledge there. I think, you know, they've got a company for everything at the moment, the Trumps, don't they? So let's see. We'll see where that plays out. Final take on the market, Ledge, that I wanted to ask. Maybe I'll go to Brad here as well before we get to the next one. Straight question. Do you think that it's turned now? You know, Brad was talking a little bit about sellers stopping selling now and just watching the flows, and maybe we're done and now we can continue higher. Do you not have a view? Still unsure? Still sitting it out? Under allocated? Over allocated? What's your perspective at the moment?
I don't think that sellers are exhausted. I'd rather like to think that we are finding a new segment of buyers potentially. We had this Bank of America 4% holding Bitcoin. We had Vanguard, the $11 trillion asset manager, saying that their clients are now eligible to trade crypto as well. We have all of these news coming that seem to unlock like new strata of buyers, and that maybe re-inspires some confidence and is helping the market out a bit. Personally, I'm not really changing my allocation at the moment. Just if I look at this, wait, let me bring up a weekly chart. Oh, this is the weekly chart. Like the BTC price is extremely vulnerable, I would argue, at the moment. If you look at this last week and you look how in the like night hours on Sunday, we basically in one single candle went down all the way from 90K to 87K. Had the week start of the week start of the week. Went as low as 84K, 85.1K, whatever. And then at the same velocity, recovered back to 90K and went back to 93K now. I mean, obviously, it looks clearly very V-shaped, but it does show that we're super vulnerable and way more volatile, especially around the weekends. So I'm not willing to fully trust this. And I'm definitely not thinking that this, for me, is the time to fully deploy back and buy back all the BTC. From the short-term holding, not from the long-term holding, obviously, from the like trading wallet. So I'm still like happy to sit this out a bit and chill.
I'm of the same opinion, to be honest. I think a lot of people, talking to Brett's point about like listening to the variety of people, think, oh yeah, we're out of it now. I know the risk reward probably favored longs more than they did shorts once we went as low as 85-ish, just on a risk reward basis. But I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced at all. And I think that's okay. I put a tweet out this morning saying some of the most experienced market participants who've been on this site for a long time have said like this is some of the most insane price action that they have seen, like almost ever. And they've been through all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I think it's okay to say, like, I don't know which way it's going to go at the moment. Kind of either taking cover from it and just just not getting involved, or maybe taking small things when you feel the risk reward is shifts from one position to the other. If you're purely trading, I think that's okay. Personally, I think that's okay at the moment, given that you can give yourself the grace to be like, okay, this is tough. People are finding this hard at the moment, and so maybe don't need to be so hard on yourself as you try to navigate it. So that's my reflection. Brad, want to give you a chance to reflect there as well before we get into the next headline?
Yeah, I mean, no major comment. I mean, I think I am out of the market for several reasons, mostly because I have other things that just like distract me. But generally, like I am in your same camp, where it's just like I'm okay not knowing and not having to pick a direction. Like it's a data point to me to see that these people are confident, or like one of my several podcasts are confident. And myself having been so removed, like again, I didn't know we were down in the fucking 80s. So to try to sit here and act like I can come in here and formulate an opinion on where I think we're going to go, I think it would be foolish.
Okay. I think that's fair. Just wanted to definitely bring that up because I think people have been tearing their hair out a little bit, and maybe the solution is take some off. Well, it's up to you what you do in the end, but I think not pulling your hair out in a time where lots of people are struggling makes sense. I actually think it's okay to pull your hair out a little bit if other people are doing great and you're not, because you're underperforming. Like you're not doing as well as you could do. Other people are doing better. But from what I can tell, everyone is finding this hard. And so don't punish yourself too hard for finding it hard when everyone else is finding it hard as well, I guess is my point. Brett, I think let's get into the next headline. This is an interesting one on Hyperliquid strategy, the one by Bob Diamond, former CEO of Barclays. What do we need to know here? I think this is getting the Hyperliquid community quite excited. What's the core information that we need to know?
Yeah, the headline itself is the Hype Treasury strategy ready via former Barclays CEO. And what it is at the highest level is Sonnet Biotherapeutics is going to merge with Rorschach LLC. That's a hard one to say, to launch the first major hype strategy company. We know there have been other ones, but this one is probably the most notable. Whenever that was announced, hype actually jumped around 8% on the news. And then some details on it. The vote to do this was actually passed. So December 2nd, so that was yesterday, nearly 5 months after the companies agreed to combine these two entities. So again, that's 5 months ago. That put us back into midsummer. The DAT said that the time it expected to hold 12.6 million hype tokens and 355 million in cash for a total estimated value of right under 900 million. Then in October, they filed the S1, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, for public offering to raise up to another $1 billion. The thing that's notable for me is I think I remember, and maybe it's not notable, but it's like my question is, wasn't this the one that actually tried to pass a vote recently and it failed? Like just like on a raw like procedural issue that came up. I remember or recall hearing that. Go ahead.
Passing instead of not passing, which it didn't pass before.
Yeah. So so this is the culmination of that. Other thing of note that was from the article I had actually been distracted from. It was actually days after the Hyperliquid unlock. I know we'd actually like called that out, but the amount was included in the article, which is interesting. So it was 1.75 million hype tokens worth $57 million was issued to a bunch of team addresses. People are watching them. I think some people have speculated that they've sold some via OTC on Flowdesk, but can't corroborate any of that. And then for me, it's just, I don't know. It's a revenue coin. I'm interested in revenue coins. This is now more people who do traditional modeling showing that they're interested in revenue coins. Whether or not the DAT itself is worthwhile, TBD. But it's something to just continue to monitor.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to monitor it. I think for the main reason that the DAT trade has often been, if you can't get in at the early stages of the company itself and sell for higher on the share price side, the DAT trade has always been front run the DATs. So I think the play here, to the extent you're in it for a pure play, although I think we're probably relatively bullish on hyperliquid in general. The pure play is to figure out how much of this $888 million, which is their intention to potentially allocate all of it to hype, or how much of that is going to go into hype. I think that's the first question you need to ask. Where are they in that allocation, if anywhere at all? Is that coming in soon? Is it not coming in soon? Is that public offering to raise up to 1 billion in addition to the 888 million that they initially asked for? I think these are some of the things you want to double click on and find out the answers to. And then the sub question, or the very much related question, is how does that relate to these unlocks that are taking place with the team? Was the team unlock a one-off unlock? Is that something now that is now triggered and they will unlock routinely every month, and there'll be that sell pressure every single month? As you said, there are some accounts watching the unlocks saying some's getting sold, some's getting restaked, and in the end, I think it's completely reasonable for the team to be selling some or all of their tokens. Frankly, they did the work. Those are the rules. They should be allowed to sell them entirely if they want. And then just figuring out, like, okay, well, where do you think these incoming flows of buys for hype are versus the normal flows out of hype, plus the sell pressure on a routine basis if the team's unlocks are on a routine basis. So those are the questions, and sometimes I like thinking it through in terms of, like, these are the key questions I need to answer in order to come to a decision on this token. Brett, what do you think about those questions? I want to go to Ledge for a thought as well.
No, I think you nailed it pretty heavily. I don't have any strong opinions on it other than corroborating what you were thinking.
Okay. Ledge, thoughts on the Hype DAT, or any of the other thoughts on the asset that I just shared, or the process of thinking about it at the moment?
Yeah, good analysis. I very much agree on the point that this is the only one that I want to double down on in terms of the unlocks, that the teams very much have the right to sell their tokens and they have the right and should cash in if they want to cash in. They've been building this whole damn thing. So obviously, why not walk out of that at the other side as a richer person than you were before? That is well-deserved. Altogether, interesting merger. Don't have any strong thoughts on that. Doesn't change my big bullish outlook on hype. And there'll probably be smart ways to, as Brett said, if you want to sell tokens, to go OTC, to maybe sell to DATs. The team is smart. They'll figure out good ways to soften that selling pressure if they really want to sell this or any future unlocks as well. But apart from that, no additional thoughts.
Okay, good stuff. Final thought for the day. This is the final headline, although I think maybe I missed this when I was off the show. Just wanted to bring in the political angle again before we close out today. Just thinking on the final the final question: who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? We saw a spike in the last couple of days. I don't know if you covered it on the show, Ledge, with Kevin Hassett rocketing up to an 83% lead, ahead of all of the others now. There was an article published in Reuters a couple of days ago saying, if White House advisor Kevin Hassett becomes President Donald Trump's pick to head the Federal Reserve from May, he'll effectively serve as a shadow Fed chair for 5 months, with markets hanging on his every word. Ever since Trump made clear he wanted to fire Powell, or at least deny him a second term, investors have wondered who would be succeeding him. Hassett is known to be very pro crypto. I think he's a paid advisor to Coinbase, and he has Coinbase stock, has been bullish on crypto in general. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. And in circumstances like this, for example, with the Fed rate poly market not long ago, I felt like it was just a coin flip. People didn't really know what was going to happen. And I think now people do feel like they know. When something moves in this way, this just screams insider trading, to be honest. And I think it's gross, just as a first point. And something should be done as an official government institution. You can't have this be the way that your news reaches the world. Like it's embarrassing, and it's not what you would expect in a properly run organization. So I think that's the first thing to say. The second thing, to putting that aside and just thinking about the market, I guess this signals something quite positive for the rest of the market. Will the rest of the economy hold up in a way that means that they can do all the things they want to do? That's my question. The thing that stood out to me the last few days, Ledger, I don't know if you brought this up, is the number of Klarna loans taken out to do, I don't know if it was like Christmas shopping or December purchases or something like that, is going off the scale. Like it's just going off the scale. The amount, the extent to which retail or normal people, ordinary working people, are just wrecked and are leveraging up in a way by using these buy now, pay later solutions is really, really increasing. And I'm deeply concerned about the health of the broader economies, not just America, although that's the most important one for the purpose of the market, but just in general. So I can't say I have a strong read on how all those things interplay at the moment. Yes, okay, you can put this up and say, oh, okay, we've got the Fed chairman who we want, everything's going to be great. But like under pulling, just looking one underneath the rug it's not so good, I don't think either. So that's the caution I would throw into the wind for me. But curious for your thoughts, guys, as we close out the show here. Maybe Ledge for some thoughts first, Brad for some thoughts, thinking more generally, and then we'll close out today. I cannot hear you, Ledge.
Sorry, I was saying let's also bring Funky in for a quick comment as well. He probably has some more color to paint on the Fed chair. I wanted to comment on, because you mentioned the Klarna loans, that I saw a statistic on the, not only Klarna, all the buy now, pay later, that this year, from that statistic, specifically 41% are late to pay their buy now, pay later obligations versus 34% last year. And on top of that, what is increasing is buy now, pay later for groceries specifically.
Yeah. I mean, what are we going to get to? Buy now, pay later for your food delivery. In fact, I think that isn't that a product they pushed.
That's the headline. Yeah.
That was the headline earlier in the year, right? It's just the money's not there to pay for these normal things, which is deeply concerning on many levels. Brad, reflection here, then we'll hit Funky, then we'll close out.
Surprised you weren't gonna go straight to Funky. Like the Klarna stuff is, I don't know if I put a bunch of weight into that. I think I probably should, but like seeing that people are leaning to it, I didn't see some official numbers enough that it's a gap between what they're doing now and previous years, and I don't have a mental model for what that actually looks like. So I just feel like I've always consistently heard this stuff for the last 5 to 10 years. It's just like everyone's always like, everyone's so poor, everything is like going to zero. I don't know. It's just like I would need to see that. But
fair.
I'm strong opinion.
Fair enough. Funky, give us a on the ground report. Any final reflections here before we close out?
Two things on the Kevin Hassett stuff. It wasn't too much insider B, because literally he was standing in the room with Trump, I think either yesterday or 2 days ago, and he basically said, who knows, the Fed chair may be with us right now. I don't know. and
okay, but even if it's that, Funky, how is that the way?
But you should expect this. It's Trump. Come on. I mean, like this is the norm, right? Like this is not like, but as in terms of the spending thing, after Black Friday, the thing that I read that was an interesting statistic is that effectively the top 15% of income earners in the US are like Atlas holding up the entire economy right now, where they're responsible for maybe either 90 or 95% of all discretionary spending. So it's really the high income earners who are kind of propping up the economy. So that, I think, is probably even the more telling statistic and quite worrying. But at the end of the day, we've been talking about, to Brett's point, this wall of worry about debt, whether it's credit card consumer debt, student loan debt, you name it. Oh, it's all a bubble. It's all going to burst. And maybe there will be a point where that does come true. But they've been saying this now for the better part of at least since COVID, and perhaps as far back as 10 years ago, right? Coming out of the Great Recession, the market started to take up in 2013. So how long we climb this wall of worry, it's unknown, but I feel like we're still, perma bull up and to the right.
Okay. Very, very, very helpful points. Additional context, Funky, as always. Appreciate the extra thoughts. Something to chew over, I think, as we move into the end of the year and start to think through some of the implications for next year, of course. So, guys, that was a good show. Enjoyed it. Good conversation, good chat. As always, just a reminder to everyone, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple, Spotify, and TikTok as well. Follow us in all those places. Do subscribe if you can. It helps us a lot with the algorithms. We appreciate you for joining us. Thank you to Legendary for co-hosting, and Brad for co-hosting, and Funky for his contributions as always. Hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.